All right, this is Arthur McManus from Fit for Commerce. Welcome all those participants in today's webinar, jointly presented by Fit for Commerce and Unboxed. The title of the webinar today, the topic will be using site search to boost e-commerce performance. We'll go through some presentation, we'll do a survey, and we'll open it up for questions and answers at the end. So if you do have any questions throughout the duration of the webinar, please go to your chat screen and enter your question in, and we'll put that in queue for the end of the webinar. I'm joined today by a great group of panelists. We got Jesse Jackson, we got Ashwas Kahaniki, and Kurt Brown. And Jesse works for Fit for Commerce. She's got a great experience, 15 years of executing strategy and brands for agencies, including implementation, branding, etc. She's worked on both B2C and B2B, experience in all aspects of e-commerce, from P&L to implementing core technologies. Prior to joining Fit for Commerce, she's worked at such companies as Vitamin Shoppe, Full Beauty Brands, Rebecca Taylor, Razorfish, Shutterfly. So again, a lot of great brands that she brings to her experience. Ash actually is a VP of corporate marketing and Unboxed. He's responsible for driving demand generation, promoting awareness of Unboxed, as well as AI-driven product discovery platform. Previously held the marketing leadership roles of Durva and Lean Data. So he, again, brings a pretty unique set of experiences to the conversation as well. And we're also joined by Kurt Brown, who is the senior sales engineer from Unboxed as well, and he's a 25-year veteran in the technology space as well. So before we hop into the details of the webinar, just a quick little agenda. We'll have introductions as we're going through right now. We'll talk about site search in its environment today. We'll talk about 2019 e-commerce imperatives in general, and then how advanced site search can help, and then the mobile imperative associated with site search, and then, as I mentioned before, Q&A at the end. Before we head into the details of the site search and Unboxed, I want to give you a quick overview of Fit for Commerce. If those of you who don't have any understanding of who Fit for Commerce is or need a refresher, we're a boutique consulting organization. We serve both brands, retailers, both B2C and B2B. You name it, anyone playing in the commerce space, we're able to work with them from the strategy portion of their growth, comparison into competitive analysis, helping them define their organizational structure as they grow, even technology assessments, as well as technology selections. So anyone playing in the commerce space who's challenged with where they are today and where they want to go in the future, we've got the resources that can help them through that process and giving them recommendation and guidance. We use a digital diligence philosophy that helps us define a methodology in working with these clients, that are structured process that has been proven over the last 10 to 12 years, helping close to 500 or so retailers, and you'll see that in the next slide. We have the Innovation Office, which is a service we offer brands and retailers and manufacturers as a way to augment their team, to stay on top of various technology out there in the space, and work with those clients and helping them stay abreast of technology they should be thinking about. So it sort of takes the onus and the burden off of those folks, the CIOs, CTOs, et cetera, and sort of defers to someone like us that does this day in and day out on where this new technology is heading and how they may want to leverage that moving forward. We also run what we call the NRF Fit for Commerce Omnichannel Retail Index, which is benchmarking top 120 retailers in a comparison across innovation, store, web, mobile, using our best practices as a guide to those measurements, and then ranks those providers' capabilities against each other by vertical, by size, et cetera. So a great deal of information there. We have that information on our website. So I guess as we go into Fit for Commerce, I mentioned the number of clients. We have 113 in the IR 1000. We serve over 18 countries. We've done over 1,500 engagements when it comes to strategy, selection, you name it, across the board. We've done pretty close to 400 or so technology selections and services selections. So a great deal of our business that starts out as strategy may yield a recommendation that technology or services is what's required for the client, and we can help them through that process of requirements definition and helping them find the right technology for their needs. We do have over 1,600 pieces of thought leadership on our website that's available for download, from best practices to white papers to reports. So hopefully a wealth of knowledge and information for anyone out there looking to get another perspective of what's happening in the commerce space. We have over 600 years of combined experience across the entire Fit for Commerce team. So that's Fit for Commerce. That's the webinar, and I'm going to turn it over to Ash, who's going to talk a little bit about Unboxed as we move forward.
Thanks, Arthur, and welcome everyone to the webinar. Thank you for joining us. So Unboxed has built an AI-powered product discovery platform that basically understands your shopper's intent. Now, your shoppers are discovering products in a whole variety of ways, right? The highest intent shoppers are the ones, these are the ones most likely to use the search bar. And even within search, the shoppers using long tail searches are more specific than the ones using head queries. Now, in addition to search, there are people who are looking for choices, and these shoppers tend to use the navigation bar to browse to their category of interest. And then there are many other times where your goal is actually to help shoppers by suggesting the right products at the right time. As an example, someone who has just purchased curtains may also be interested in new curtain rods and changing that look. So that's where our recommendation engine comes in. So basically, our solutions understand your shopper's intent and connects them to the products they are most likely to buy. So they are doing this across site search, navigation, recommendation, purchase journeys. And in addition to that, we also have a product information management, or PIM solution, that enables e-commerce businesses to create, control, and distribute their product information across all the multiple channels that they are selling their products on, in addition to their own websites. So let's take a deeper look at the platform in our next slide. So how do we do this? The most fundamental layer actually is our data. And many companies today, they will tout AI and machine learning, but what they gloss over is that building AI and machine learning requires a lot of clean and labeled data to build and test new machine learning models. And this is our core Unboxed advantage. We have a massive data set of more than 500 million products that allow us to build a lot of very sophisticated algorithms. So our site search and auto suggest, browse, product recommendations, PIM, they're all built on this underlying AI layer. And our AI machine learning capabilities, they really help us in two very fundamental ways. One is our unparalleled relevance, in which our search results deliver highly personalized and context-specific search results at scale. I mean, just to give you a couple of quick examples, one is we take the order of words into consideration when you're looking for search. So on a fashion website, someone who's looking for shirt dress versus dress shirt, those are actually two very different searches across different categories. So we accommodate cases like that. It also helps us to be a lot more forgiving in terms of the number of typos we can accommodate in search queries. So that was kind of the first differentiator from our machine learning. One is relevance. The second one is our automation. So right out of the box, we can automate solving problems such as null queries, manual merchandising of category pages. For example, all you can do is set a goal. So for the vast majority of customers, it is to maximize e-commerce and online revenue, but your goal might be actually better inventory control. You want to manage your inventory better, or you are chasing higher margins, or for certain verticals such as apparel, you want to highlight fresh products, fresh new fashions all the time. So you can set a business goal like that, and our automation layer takes care of the rest of all the tactics that are needed to really reach your business goal. Next slide, please. So these are a few of our customer logos, and we have worked with pretty much every single enterprise platform you can think of, including homegrown products, and a lot of logos across different kinds of customers, different kinds of verticals. Arthur, back to you.
Great, thanks, Ash. Good overview of Unbox there. So actually, before we continue on, we want to do this survey, and you can read the survey in front of you, but I'll read it through you and hopefully give you an opportunity to answer the question. So what % of website visitors to your site use site search versus online navigation? So I guess there are 3 or 4 answers here, and as I'm speaking, hopefully you're filling out your answers right now, but we're looking, one answer is over 85%, 70% or roughly, 55%, 40%, and less than 25%. Again, so what % of website visitors to your site use search versus on-site navigation? So right now, oops, we have some interesting numbers. Over 85%, fairly low, as you really telling. Interesting, 27% for 70% or above, and second to 40% and below. So thank you all for participating. I guess as we move on to the next section with Jesse, I guess interesting information as we think about site search and how it sort of is positioned for 2019. So over to you, Jesse.
Thanks, Arthur. Well, that's really interesting. So let's see how that compares to industry stats. According to a study done by eConsultancy, they found that 30% of visitors are using internal site search to shop and find products. So in your case, I think you had, what was that, around 30% at 40%, at 40% of your visitors. So you're actually ahead of the industry in terms of site search. So that makes search even more important to this group. Some other stats regarding search. These shoppers tend to have a much higher level of purchase intent, as Ash referred to earlier, and they convert higher. They convert 5 to 6 times higher than those who are navigating or browsing via navigation or content. But according to Baymard Institute, 70% of e-commerce sites require visitors to search with exact product titles for their site uses. For example, blow dryer versus hair dryer, or multifunction printer versus all-in-one. So when you think about it, that's not going to be very useful to most consumers who are so well trained by Google to type in exactly what they're thinking and not have to think about how to say it. And with the site search, if you don't give the customer a valid result, they're going to assume you don't have the product, and of course they're going to look elsewhere, which is not what any of us want. So these same studies found that 84% of site search tools also can't handle adjectives and fall short with misspellings. And nearly a third of search queries fail to return relevant products. So, you can imagine what most customers do. I'm sure you see it on your own site when customers are getting a no results. If you can't find it, you're going to go somewhere else. You're going to go to Google, you're going to go to Amazon. So this is intended to help us find ways not to have that happen. And when you look at what we're seeing as e-commerce imperatives for the year, most of them really touch on the ability to have effective site search, whether it's in the search box, through faceting, advanced facets, or optimizing for mobile. Shoppers, as we all know, have really high expectations today. They expect search to be better and to be intuitive, dynamic personalization, and they certainly expect mobile to be frictionless. Clearly, most sites have some opportunity to improve in this area. Ash, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about how you see site search playing into these imperatives.
Absolutely. Site search is one area that is evolving extremely rapidly, and of course, the days when an e-commerce company could just throw up a long list of text results, they're long gone, right? Amazon and Google have really changed the expectation from the shoppers. And this is true especially for search. For example, if you are looking for something, you are not interested in a long drawn out process. You want to shorten the discovery path. And like, for example, one really easy way of doing that is through visual auto suggest. You can see this in action at our customerexpress.com, or you can even see this on amazon.com. And this is, you start typing something, it brings up a catalog of products that could be relevant for you. So it just helps you guide to the product you're looking for that much faster. Another way of doing this is show me dynamic facets, right? So narrow down the options for me and be more helpful instead of just throwing me, thousands and thousands of results that may all be not relevant for me. So the goal of search has changed from something that was just like a simple service to something that is really helping the customer find what they're looking for and shorten the discovery process. So another example is the goal of personalization by, for example, taking your location and device into account. So imagine two shoppers searching for the exact same search query, right? Fall coat. This is a very common head query or torso query, but two shoppers in Boston and San Diego, they might be both looking for fall coats on an apparel website, but they are likely looking for different options being available to them based on the weather and the climate of the area they are searching for. The other trend we are seeing growing is subjective searches. So for example, dress for sensitive skin. And this is now a subjective term that may not be actually in your catalog, but because of Google and Amazon, because these guys do such a good job of search, people are expecting the same kind of responsiveness and helpfulness from your website like they do from these two leading websites. So subjective searches are growing. Personalization, definitely, there's no slowdown in that trend. And fortunately, there are site search tools that offer a lot of advanced capabilities, intelligent merchandising, optimizing your product rankings, and this is critically important in meeting today's expectations. Next slide, please. So in fact, what we are seeing, and this is based on unboxed data from our customers across 1,200 websites, in terms of sessions, search may account from anywhere from 5 to 25% of your sessions based on your specific business model, how you're driving traffic, and your industry. But the contribution of search to revenue is definitely outsized. Anywhere between 20 and 40% of e-commerce revenue is powered through search sessions. We have, like I said, 1,200 websites that prove this day in, day out. And while there are a lot of projects that compete for your time and attention, site search is generally the lowest hanging fruit you can fix to increase conversion rates and revenue. Okay, let me hand it over to Kurt to go over exactly what we mean by advanced site search.
Excellent. Thank you, Ash. I appreciate the handoff here. So as a merchandiser, you as a merchandiser have to have a strategy for addressing consumers wherever they are in their discovery process. Here, this slide, you can see we measure consumers' intent from 0 to 100. And when we talk about intent spectrum, their intent to purchase. On the left-hand side, you see navigation. These are consumers who may not know exactly what they're shopping for. They may have an idea of something they're interested in, but they don't know the specific product they're looking at. The other side of the spectrum here, we can see long-tail queries where consumers are very specific on the product they're wanting. As a merchandiser, you have to have a strategy to address both consumers and where they're at, whether it's a navigational merchandising experience or a search experience. So both shoppers and both sides of the spectrum have to be addressed. Next slide, please. And so how we address that, this slide here talks through the different types of advanced functionality a new advanced site search must have. We're going to go through each one of these in more detail, one by one, but as you can see here, it is a list of functionality that is important today that consumers are expecting. And as mentioned earlier, Consumers do want a Google-esque type of experience wherever they go. We've all been kind of trained for that experience. And so having this functionality really maps directly to consumers' expectation on site search. Next slide, please. So we'll start with optimizing product ranking. This is something that as we look at products, as we look at a query, and this here is a head query for fleece, we're going to get a lot of products back. We're going to get a lot of products that match fleece. We can see that there's 43 of them. What we have to do from a site search first is get the relevancy right. You must bring in very relevant products. And you can see here we've brought in some very relevant products, but now that we've got this good bag of products, how do we decide which product goes into the #1 position and which one is presented last? This is where optimized product ranking comes in. And at Unboxed, we utilize performance-based algorithm that measures consumers' click stream behavior from the time they enter the site to the time they leave the site. What are they clicking on? What are they adding to the cart? What's the checkout rate? What's the conversion rate? What's the average order value? So a lot of these metrics go into a machine learning algorithm that determines the best performing product. And the best performing product will be ranked in the #1 position, and the least performing product would be ranked at the bottom. But that's not where we stop. We actually add additional algorithms into the mix to ensure that the assortment is continually refreshing. Things like newness. What happens if I add a new product and there is no performance-based metrics? What we do is we look at the attributes of the product itself. Maybe it's price, categorization. Maybe we look at its material or its brand. We try to find another product that's similar to it, and we rank it artificially with that product until it does have clickstream behavior that we can then rank it and let it sink or swim on its own merits. We do things like freshness. If a product is always ranked at the bottom, is never getting any eyeballs on it, we can artificially boost that up into the assortment to see if it can gain some traction through some visibility. And so there's a lot that goes into optimizing for product ranking, but it's something that's absolutely critical. And we know through our own measurement that when we do rank products based on the performance, the conversion rate increases.
And you kind of know too that, you know, the more relevant product you get in that, you know, above the scroll sweet spot, the more likely you are to get that customer engaged, right? So it's really critical that you have multiple, you know, these kind of multiple different factors involved in ranking that properly.
Yes, absolutely. Next slide, please. So another functionality that is absolutely critical as we talk about retail specifically is natural language search, natural language processing, being able to understand not just the individual words that are showing up in a query and trying to match the individual words to products or documents, but actually stringing together the query and understanding that it actually is a very specific requirement that the consumer is looking for, or set of requirements for their query. Here we can see free range chicken soup. We have to understand very specifically through positional analysis that soup is the product, and that all of the other words in the query are actually attributes, and we have to understand the attributes, and we have to find products to match it. We don't just need chicken soup. We don't just need soup. We don't just need free range soup. We have free range chicken soup. We have to string that together and using natural language processing to understand that. This is actually a very difficult problem to solve for, and without artificial intelligence, it's almost impossible. Next slide, please. Another piece of functionality that is absolutely critical in a mobile-first world is the autocomplete. Nobody wants to type in long queries with their thumbs on their phone anymore. They expect to be able to type in just a few characters and have an artificial intelligence, or at least a smart system, to be able to predict what is it that you're looking for, make suggestions, and let me as the consumer quickly navigate down the auto-completed suggestions and find the product that I'm interested in. Again, a critical piece in mobile only, but it's also important in desktop as well. Next slide, please. Here we talk about faceted searches. Now this is, again, really giving that good experience for the consumer. They found a set of products that they want. It's a very broad set of products here. We can see 61 products in outerwear, 128 in pants. Whether you're navigating to it through browse or whether you're searching for it, to be able to refine your search and quickly narrow down the products you want is very important. Consumers do have a very short attention span. They do expect to be able to find what they're looking for. They do want a good experience, and if they don't have it, they'll move on. So being able to have that guided navigation here where we're actually able to help the consumer narrow down very quickly what they want is important. The other thing that's very important is when we think about facets, consumers expect a relevant facet bag of facets when they're searching for products. If I'm searching for laptop, I don't want to see things like shoe size. If I'm searching for shoe size, I don't want to see screen size. So being able to look at the product, the bag of products that are returning, and dynamically look at the attributes of those products and only return facets that match the bag of products that I'm returning is very important. And we see this when we talk about sites that have a lot of products, certainly a diverse assortment of products. Think about the Home Shopping Network and the amount of products that they have. They've got over 3,000 different attributes for all their products. You don't want to list the 3,000 facets. And you also don't want to restrict consumers to the facets that are actually specific to their products. It has to be dynamic. It has to look at the products in the result set and then match up the facets to the products that are returned based on their attribution. Something that's very critical nowadays as consumers become more savvy with their navigation and their experience with shopping.
So true. And I mean, as you see your customers navigating your site, I mean, for one customer, size might be the primary thing because I don't want to have to click through and find out you don't have this product in stock in my size. So I'm always going to sort by size. Another customer, it may be looking for only blue, for example, or only want to see 5-star reviews. So making those options easy to narrow down the result set just makes it that much more possible that you're going to get them to the right product quickly.
Absolutely. Next slide, please. Now, when we look at auto suggest, certainly autocomplete is a key component to it, but there's more to it now that can be provided to consumers to increase their experience when they're shopping. Being able to suggest keywords is great, but how about categories? How about brands or specific products? Being able to display products on the left-hand side, have another column of top purchase products based on the query set that's been typed in. So giving that, again, that shopper an experience where, depending on where I'm at, am I in discovery mode or am I in purchase mode or somewhere in between, we can address that consumer's need by having a very rich auto-suggest experience. And this is very important when we talk about consumers who maybe we want to give them the ability to buy right from auto-suggest. If we're talking about a B2B customer where every week I come in and I buy the same product again and again and again, or think about grocery, where every week I'm buying milk, I'm buying butter. Wouldn't it be nice in the auto-suggest if I start to type in a keyword, suggest the products that I always buy and allow me to add them to the cart? Those are scenarios where an advanced auto-suggest are very important. And here at Unbox, we certainly provide that experience for consumers, and we match it up to the vertical of the retailer, whether it's B2B, whether it's grocery, whether it's apparel. We have different templates that can match the experience desired by our retailers today. Next slide, please. And here we talk about guided navigation. This is, again, just an important experience when we're talking about selling, guiding the shoppers to be able to buy their products and help them refine their experience. Whether it's right from the search box or whether it's from navigation, we have to be able to give those consumers the ability to really figure out what it is they're looking for. And then we back that up with machine learning and predictive analytics to help refine how the consumers are able to navigate through. So you can see here we've given a navigational option where you can pick a specific category you want to search within, so it's a search within a search. You can narrow it down by price. So again, this guided shopping navigation is very important, and we know this is much more important when we consider the mobile experience. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over.
Thank you. Yes, so true about mobile. If you look at sales, expected sales for, by 2022, mobile is expected to exceed 500 billion. So it's huge now, and it's growing like crazy still. Smartphones alone will account for 85% of that, of overall e-commerce retail sales. And search, having an advanced search, having mobile-friendly checkout, mobile payment methods, and other key initiatives will help drive that. But as many of you have seen, mobile commerce continues to grow in terms of dollars and demand, but conversion rates still lag typically far below desktop. And that's because the experience just isn't there yet. If you think about just search relative to mobile, so many retailers have work to do here. Shopping on your phone can mean endless scrolling if those search, auto suggest, and other options that Kurt just kind of walked through aren't well built out. So retailers really have to get site search well developed and well built out for mobile. It's more important than ever based on those metrics. Customers they need to be able to find things in a few clicks, or as you know, they're going to go to Amazon, they're going to go to Google, they're going to try something else. So features like, the advanced autocorrect, an ability to easily narrow down facets and category size by reviews and so on really help mobile shoppers, get to what they're looking for quicker, and getting to what they want quicker tends to mean higher conversion numbers. So at this point, Kurt, can you walk us through how Unboxed helps optimize search for mobile specifically?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ash.
So yeah, what we are seeing is definitely mobile traffic for many e-commerce sites has surpassed 50% of traffic, right? And it's not uncommon for many of our customers who either have maps, apps, or through their mobile websites to generate more than 60–70% of their traffic through the mobile website rather than using the desktop version. But generally speaking, Jess, you're totally right. Mobile conversion rates are still lagging. We are seeing them at about 10 to 35% out of desktop traffic. And businesses can do a lot to increase those conversion rates. So just a couple of quick ways is, one is have a very easy way of navigating through the mobile catalog. Here's an example where mobile users can search by using facets or filters. They can search by categories such as best match and by scrolling through a number of categorizations like newest items, featured items, etc. Next slide, please. And here's a case study of our point of view, why search is really the lowest hanging fruit across mobile and desktop. Because when we went live with our technology with express.com, they saw an immediate lift of 29% growth in conversion and search revenues in the first quarter. And the jump was so massive that the CEO actually had to explain this bump during their quarterly earnings call. So let's look at the next slide. So this is what advanced site search can do for you. These are just some of our successes that we have delivered to our customers, and as you can see, the increases in conversion and revenue are compelling. These can be seen across industries. Now, obviously, the point here is relevance means different things across industries, and the factors affecting conversion are also different. So, for example, as Kurt alluded to, in fashion and apparel, freshness, which is your ability to constantly showcase new products, new fashions, is very important. And consumers, to a large extent, also expect that, and you have to meet those expectations. But you can contrast that with groceries, where shoppers don't want to be constantly surprised with new stuff. They just want their usual brand of milk and eggs, and they want a personalized experience, and they want to check out as fast as possible. Then again, if you're a mass merchant who is carrying a wide variety of products from apparel to household goods to electronics, you need the ability to have category-specific search with the ability to dynamically show different facets by category. So if we have seen one thing really across all our customers is that one size definitely does not fit all. And we find that even customers in the same industry actually have a lot of different requirements. It's not the fact that just everyone is chasing revenue. Like I said, for some of them, inventory control is more important, or branding is more important, etc. So it's really important while you are looking for solution partners to find something that understands your specific needs and can integrate really well with your technology stack. I'll hand it over to Kurt to go over some of the ways we go out making contractual commitments.
Absolutely. So here in the world that we live in today, where cloud computing and SaaS technologies are permeating the ecosystem, there are certain expectations from consumers now. They expect an uptime that does not impact their consumers, does not impact sales. We know that if there's an outage, you're going to lose revenue. And so we've built our system not only in multiple data architectures, multiple systems, multiple providers, but we've also hardened our own system internally so that the uptimes are contractually committed here. The other one that's huge for us, we haven't seen anywhere else in the industry, is our conversion guarantee. So you can see here we guarantee a 5 to 10% conversion rate when you utilize our site search. And that's something that is very unique in the space today, and it's something that is very compelling for a lot of retailers where they are trying to figure out how can they make their dollars go further. So guaranteeing a conversion, locking them in on an ROI, helps them easily move over to different technology partners such as Unbox. When you are uncertain about that revenue impact, that ROI, it's hard to move to different technologies. So we understand that, but we also trust our system well enough. We trust the technology that we built to do that conversion guarantee. The other one here is response time. Being able to have a quick and responsive website, we know consumers expect that now. And when they have a lag within their experience, they tend to want to move away. And the other things down here, disaster recovery, multiple data center architecture, we talked about and peak capacity. But the key one here also that is unique in the space, and I've been in the space for quite a while, is finding an advanced technology that you can deploy very rapidly. And here we guarantee our go live dates in 6 to 8 weeks. So that is something that's very unique in the space, both the conversion guarantee and the go live to 6 to 8 weeks. Those are something that we ourselves have kind of solved that puzzle. We found a way to do the integrations much quicker. We spent a lot of time refining our onboarding process to ensure that we meet those contractual commitments. Next slide, please.
I think the next slide is the Q&A. So thank you, for that, guys. There's a good overview, and we've got actually a couple of great questions that came in. So let's go to the questions first, and we'll sort of talk about the complementary site search that Unbox is offering in the white paper itself. So this question is actually addressed to Kurt.
Yes.
The question is, how does one integrate Unbox into their web and mobile priorities?
That's a great question. We get that quite a lot. The integration really consists of 3 pieces at a high level. The first piece is, in order for us to build out an index of your products, we need your catalog. We need your catalog of products. We typically take this through some sort of product feed, very similar to a Google product feed that you might do for Google AdWords or Google Shopping. We can take that in multiple different formats. We do support secure FTP. We also have an open API where you can push product feeds directly from your database through an API, or if you have an API, we can pull it from your API. So there's multiple ways now for us to handle the catalog challenge that a lot of consumers have. The second piece of the puzzle is we need data. In order for our machine learning to work, in order for it to continue to improve, we need data. And we get data, the clickstream data is what we use. We get it through an analytics tag. It's typically very similar, again, to a Google Analytics page tag for their analytics. What's very similar to that, we're compliant with all of the tag management systems out there, whether it's a Google Tag Manager or whether it's Telium. We certainly are compliant with those. Drop our tag in there, and it starts sending traffic to our system so our machine learning can learn from it. And then the third piece is the integration itself within the website. And there's a couple different options here. One, we can do the integration for you. We'll put our code, inject our code into your search result templates and give that template back to you to host. The other is you integrate the API calls into your own site, make those API calls to Unbox. We return the content. You're still hosting the content. We're not hosting anything. All we're doing is giving your site the sheet music to build out the search results. We run all the queries on the back end and return it to you. So those are the 3 components, really, just the page tag to capture the data, the catalog so that we have the index, and then the API calls so that we can return the content to you.
Great. Thank you, Carlos. Great. So actually, we had a question that came into the registration as well. So we've got a couple more questions from the audience that came in today, and then we had one that came in when person registered for the webinar, so I want to bring that one up as well. So probably more for Ash or Kurt. I'll let you guys determine who should be the best person to answer it. Can you give me recommendations for testing these new capabilities? What is a high-level technical feasibility?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what we do here, there's a couple of options here, depending on what you mean by testing. So we've run into scenarios where consumers say, look, we want to test your architecture. We want to make sure that you can support the volume of products we have and the volume of traffic we have. So we certainly do testing in that perspective where we're doing more of a load test. We also do testing where we say, hey, is it are you more relevant than my existing site search? We do tests like that as well, where we'll take your catalog, we'll put it through our system, and we'll allow you to run some queries against it and see how it is. Now, we always know, and what we do know with our testing is that once we start to get the clickstream data, it tends to be more accurate. It tends to improve. So this is where we move kind of into what we call a proof of concept, where we actually would maybe do like an A/B split test. Now, we're not an A/B split test provider, so we don't do the multivariate testing ourselves. We work with whatever technology you have to do a multivariate test. And the other is we do a before and after test, where we know our site search is terrible, we know the performance is bad, we really have bought into what Unboxed is producing. Let's go ahead and deploy it, and let's measure the before and after. So there is different ways to test out. It just depends on the scenario you're looking for as a retailer, as a technologist. What do you want to test? Test the infrastructure, test the relevancy, or actually do an A/B test and see how it performs from a conversion lift perspective.
Interesting. Great. I think so. Touching upon the machine learning, I guess one question came in about, how could artificial intelligence or machine learning be used in situations like out of stock, where the customer doesn't find the item he's searching for?
That's a great question. There's a couple of ways to handle the out of stock, and it really depends on the experience that the retailer wants. The out of stock can be, we can still return the product in the search result and say, look, here's the product you looked for. We have it. It's out of stock. It's going to return to stock at some point, but right now it's out of stock. That's one option. The other is, look, if it's out of stock, we don't want to present anything. If we don't have the product in stock, let's not show it. But let's recommend some similar products. So we have a recommendations widget that's part of the search. When we hit those 0 results or out of stock scenarios, let's at least recommend something. Let's show something to the consumer instead of just showing a 0 results, which we know is a kind of a negative experience for consumers. So those are the two methods that we have to handle the zero stock scenario. The alternative is we can loosen up the relevancy as well. And this is through artificial intelligence as well. We can say, look, we know that the consumer searched for a specific product. It's not in stock. Do we want to show a 0 result, or do we want to loosen the relevancy and bring other products in the search result that may not be the exact product, but similar enough to be to give a good experience for the consumer? Again, those are levers and knobs that we can control with the merchandiser to figure out what experience do we want and how do we want to display that to the consumer.
Okay, great. So we got one more question, then we'll talk a little bit more about the complementary site search and the white paper. But so it looks like the client or the question comes from a mass merchant. And the question is, how can we accommodate searches on a granular level? For example, people searching for fashion, furniture, electronics. I guess, Ash, is that something you might be able to answer?
Sure, let me take that on. And so mass merchants actually have to worry about a lot, right? Because a lot of nuances or aspects about search are specific to the industry. So for example, mass merchants, the catalog may not be standardized across multiple categories, right? Different products that are in different categories may not have the same richness or depth of information available for other categories. And even customer expectations are completely different. So for example, someone who's searching for fashion apparel wants freshness. They want to see new things. Someone who's looking for furniture, they're looking for stuff that's on sale or maybe just more choice, or they are looking for things that they can sort by fabric and what's popular in their particular territory, or even what's available in their zip code, things like that. So Amazon does that really well. HSN, our customer, is also a fantastic example where visual auto suggest can actually work really well for you. So this is a case where as a shopper goes to your single search bar, the Omni search bar, and starts typing in, your product results show up in the autocomplete section, but they're sorted by category. So it allows the customer to use like the best of autocomplete and the categorization that you have to quickly narrow down their choices to a more meaningful set of just a few. So visual auto suggest, I would highly recommend mass merchants to look at that and just leverage that a lot. The other one is dynamic facets, because depending on the category, you want to show different facets. Like for clothing, size and the kind of fabric makes complete sense. But for furniture, it's kind of context sensitive, where you're looking for kitchen furniture as opposed to living room versus bathroom furniture and things like that. For electronic stores, it will be resolution, or TV monitors are looking for resolution and size. But the important thing I think to consider here is specifically for mass merchants, right? Manual tweaking generally does not scale, because you will end out, you will not have enough time on your hands to actually figure out what moves the needle for every single category, what kind of dynamic facets or search experience is important for each category. So manual tweaking does not scale. You really do want a solution that learns this and has the ability to use machine learning and autocorrect and auto optimize as more and more data comes in.
Great.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Ash. That was spot on. And I guess we got the couple things we want to talk about now. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the complimentary site search audit that you guys are offering.
Sure. Let me take that on. So a lot of our customers or prospects who are looking at site search, they have just initial questions around, first of all, how do we get started? Or even before this, right? How do we know whether we have a search problem, right? We get a certain number of sessions per month. Our catalog size is this. We sell so many products online. But first, do we even really have a site search problem or a product discovery problem, speaking more broadly? So for that, we offer this complimentary service, which is a site search audit. What we do is we have an analyst team that will go through your website. We are going to analyze your website through various angles, right, across the whole intent spectrum that Kurt spoke about. So can people find what they're looking for when they actually interact with the search button, right? When they type in some head searches, some torso queries, some long tail queries, is your site actually delivering the right experience? First of all, I mean, in a lot of cases, sometimes customers are actually able to navigate to a certain product, like it's right there in front of you, but they try to search for the exact same thing with the same keywords and it does not show up. So what our team will figure out is, do you have null queries? Do you have queries where you have really good products to display, but they are not coming up in your search results page? Then we'll look at navigation. How are you actually doing this navigation? Are you personalizing it? If I go to your website as a new visitor and go to a particular category and see a certain set of products, now if I click around so that you have some clickstream data, are you showing me a slightly more personalized version of the same page before? So all these experiences across search, navigation, recommendations, our team will actually go through it. They spend about an hour or so on your website. They compile a 30-page customized report just for you. Just as a conversation starter about, okay, is this something that's of interest to you, and kind of expect to see if you fix all these problems. So highly encourage everyone to do that. This is complimentary, no strings attached. It's a 30-page customized report that we have built just for you.
Great. That's good. It's great that you guys are offering that. I think it's great for people to get a little bit of help as they go down this path. And at the end of the day, whether they go down to replace it or address their search, at least they'll be able to understand the first couple steps. So that's great. So the other thing is our white paper that we wrote about the same topic and how you can take this content and read a lot more detail about site search and its effect on your commerce solution. So right now it's online, fitforcommerce.com. You'll see the connection here on the webinar page, but it's a great read. definitely worthwhile to dig into as you're trying to solve your search challenges moving forward. So a couple resources for you: the complimentary site search audit, as well as the white paper, and then this recording for those who are part of it that want to pass this on to anyone else that they know may be interested, will be on our Fit for Commerce website as well as a pre-recorded webinar. So a lot of options there for you as you learn about site search. So I want to thank the panelists, Ash, Kurt, Jesse, for their contributions today. I want to thank everyone for attending, and there'll be more of these webinars moving forward. So thank you all very much for your participation, and look forward to seeing you in future webinars moving forward. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.